Have you ever felt the sting of disrespect and immediately wished you could flip a switch to make the other person see your worth? What if the power to command respect isn't about them at all, but about how you choose to meet that moment? Friedrich Nietzsche, the philosopher who dared to question everything, offers a surprising answer. He once wrote, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." At its core, this isn't just about endurance. It's about the unshakable strength that comes from knowing your own value so deeply that no one else's disrespect can shake it. You probably recognize that stubborn feeling of being right, that surge of heat when someone dismisses you. Many of us cling to familiar ideas about respect, like the belief that it's something others owe us, or that we have to demand it loudly to be heard. But Nietzsche challenges this. He saw that true respect isn't taken, it's radiated. And the key lies in a shift most people never make, the move from reaction to mastery. Think about the last time someone underestimated you. Your first instinct might have been to push back, to prove them wrong, to force them to see you. It's natural. We're wired to defend our worth when it's questioned. But here's the problem. When you react from that place, you're still letting their disrespect set the terms. Nietzsche would argue that the moment you scramble for their approval, you've already handed them power over you. Remember when you were a kid and realized a childhood belief wasn't quite true? Maybe you thought being loudest meant being heard, or that winning every argument made you strong. Nietzsche's insight is like that moment of growing up, realizing that the game you've been playing is rigged. Respect doesn't come from forcing others to bend. It comes from a quiet certainty that doesn't need their validation. So how do you tap into that? It starts with understanding the difference between external respect, what others give you, and internal respect, what you cultivate in yourself. Most people chase the first, not realizing it's a trap. The more you demand others treat you a certain way, the more you tie your worth to their actions. Nietzsche's alternative is simple but radical. Build a self-worth so unassailable the disrespect can't stick to you. Imagine someone throws a careless insult your way. The old you might tense up, fire back, or worse, start doubting yourself. The Nietzschean approach. Pause. Smile even. Not because you agree, but because their words reveal more about them than about you. This isn't about pretending it doesn't hurt. It's about recognizing that their disrespect is a reflection of their limits, not yours. When you stop scrambling to correct their perception, something fascinating happens. You become untouchable. This cracks open a moment we all face, when someone disrespects us, and our first instinct is to fire back or shrink away. But what if there's a way to turn that moment into something far more powerful? To understand how, we need to take a natural three-phase journey. One that starts simple, gets messy, and finally leads to a clarity that changes everything. We start by seeing things in black and white. Disrespect feels like an attack, and our brains scream for a quick fix, either fight or flight. In this phase, it's all about immediate reactions. Someone snaps at you and you snap back. Someone ignores you, and you either push harder or retreat. It's straightforward, but it's also limiting. Friedrich Nietzsche called this the realm of the reactive, where we're driven by impulses rather than choice. We're like leaves in the wind, tossed around by whatever someone else throws at us. Then comes the confusing middle. This is where things get complicated. You start questioning those knee-jerk reactions. Maybe firing back leaves you feeling empty, or staying silent makes you resentful. You realize there's more to it, but the path isn't clear. Nietzsche saw this phase as essential, the chaos before the star. It's uncomfortable, even painful, because growth always is. You might be someone who resists change at first, or maybe you're the type who dives in head first, only to feel lost later. Most of us feel uneasy during transitions, and that's normal. This is where the old rules stop working, and the new ones haven't quite formed yet. But here's the thing. This middle phase is where the magic happens. You start noticing subtle shifts. You may catch yourself pausing before reacting lately. That pause is everything. It's the space where you stop being reactive and start being responsive. Nietzsche contrasted the will to power with mere reaction. The difference between acting from strength versus being dragged into someone else's drama. In everyday terms, it's the difference between letting a rude comment ruin your day and choosing to rise above it. The new clarity comes when you realize respect isn't something you demand. It's something you cultivate. It's not about controlling others, but mastering yourself. We start noticing that the people who command respect aren't the loudest or the most aggressive. They're the ones who stay steady, who don't get pulled off course. They understand that disrespect often says more about the other person than it does about them. And when you embody that, something shifts. People sense it. They might not even know why, but they start treating you differently. This isn't about pretending nothing bothers you. It's about choosing your battles wisely. Nietzsche believed that the greatest growth comes through struggle, and the middle phase is where that struggle plays out. It's where you learn to hold your ground without losing your cool, to assert yourself without diminishing others. It's messy, but it's also where you build real strength. Through this discomfort, you find a new way of being, one where respect isn't something you chase, but something you carry with you. And that changes everything. The journey doesn't end here, though. The more you practice this, the more natural it becomes. You'll catch yourself responding differently, feeling less rattled, and noticing how others react to your energy. It's not about perfection, it's about progress. Most of us slip back into old habits sometimes, and that's okay. What matters is that you're moving forward. We often think respect is about how others treat us, but it's really about how we treat ourselves. When you stop handing over your power to every rude comment or dismissive glance, you start owning your worth. And that's something no one can take from you. Nietzsche's idea of the Übermensch wasn't about being superior to others, but about transcending the petty reactions that keep us small. In everyday life, that means choosing to rise above the noise. You might be someone who's always been told to stand up for yourself by fighting back. But there's a deeper kind of strength in not taking the bait. It's not passive, it's powerful. It's the difference between a flickering candle and a steady flame. One gets blown out by every breeze, while the other holds its light no matter what. We start noticing that the people who, through this discomfort, we begin to notice something shifting. At first, it might feel like stumbling in the dark, unsure of where to step next. But slowly, as our eyes adjust, we start to see the outlines of something new, a way of being that wasn't visible before. This isn't about suddenly having all the answers or becoming a different person overnight. It's about the quiet realization that the discomfort itself was part of the journey, a sign that we were pushing against the edges of what we thought was possible. You'll likely find daily decisions coming easier, not because life has gotten simpler, but because you've changed in ways you might not even fully recognize yet. The old patterns that once felt like second nature begin to loosen their grip. Maybe you notice that situations which used to leave you feeling stuck now have a little more space around them, a little more room to breathe. It's not that the challenges disappear, but how you meet them starts to shift. Many notice old frustrations don't bother them as much, not because they've learned to ignore them, but because they've learned to see them differently. This is the subtle magic of growth. It doesn't announce itself with fanfare or dramatic revelations. It happens in the small moments, the way you catch yourself before reacting, the way you pause to consider what you truly want instead of what you think you should do. These might seem like tiny things, but they add up. Over time, they create a new rhythm, a way of moving through the world that feels more aligned, more like you. Together we discover that this isn't about reaching some distant finish line. It's about the steps themselves, the act of walking forward even when the path isn't perfectly clear. There's a kind of freedom in that, a relief in letting go of the need to have it all figured out. You might start to notice how much energy you used to spend trying to control outcomes, trying to force life into a shape it wasn't meant to take. And now, without even realizing it, you've begun to trust the process a little more, to allow things to unfold in their own time. This isn't to say that everything suddenly becomes easy. There will still be days when the old doubts creep in, when the discomfort feels overwhelming. But now, there's something different. A knowing that you've been here before and found your way through. You've learned that the discomfort isn't a sign you're doing it wrong. It's a sign you're doing it right. Growth doesn't happen in the comfort zone, after all. It happens in the messy middle, in the moments when you're not quite sure, but you keep going anyway. Many people find that as they move through this process, they start to see themselves differently. The stories they've told about who they are, the limitations they've accepted, the roles they've played, begin to feel less solid. It's like realizing you've been wearing a coat that's too heavy for the weather and finally taking it off. You didn't even notice how much it was weighing you down until you let it go. And suddenly, everything feels lighter, more possible. This is where the Barnum effect often shows up in surprising ways. You might read something or hear a piece of advice that feels like it was written just for you, even though it's something that could apply to almost anyone. That's not a coincidence. It's a reminder that we're all more alike than we think. The struggles, the doubts, the hopes, they're universal. And yet, when we hear them reflected back to us, it feels personal, like a sign that we're on the right track. It's a gentle nudge from the universe saying, keep going. You're not alone in this. As we keep moving forward, the pieces start to fit together in ways we couldn't have predicted. The things that once felt disconnected, our thoughts, our actions, our dreams, begin to align. It's not that we've suddenly become perfect or figured out some grand secret. It's that we've learned to listen to ourselves, to trust the quiet voice inside that's been there all along. And in doing so, we've found a kind of clarity that doesn't come from outside answers, but from inner knowing. This is the heart of the journey. Not arriving at some distant destination, but becoming more fully ourselves along the way. It's about shedding the layers that no longer serve us, the beliefs that keep us small, the fears that hold us back. And with each layer that falls away, we get closer to the core of who we are. Not the version we think we should be, but the one we've always been beneath it all. There's a beautiful freedom in that, a liberation that comes from no longer trying to force ourselves into shapes that don't fit. Friedrich Nietzsche once described it like finally taking off shoes that never quite fit. The relief of stepping into the truth of who you are, without apology or pretense. It's not always easy, and it's certainly not linear, but it's worth it. Because, on the other side of that discomfort, is a life that feels more authentic, more alive, more yours. Together, we discover that this is what it means to grow. Not to become someone new, but to uncover who we've been all along. And in that uncovering, we find the courage to keep going, to keep showing up, even when it's hard. Because now we know, the discomfort isn't the end of the story. It's just the beginning.